I had a wish, I had a dream, I had a point where I want to go to. This was the beginning for me, where my mindset, it's not possible to say it as a 9-year-old boy, but of course you have something like a mindset even when you're young, changed completely. I started a journey, and I would not say how to learn the French horn. I would say it was a journey for me to learn who I am. How is my mind working? How is my body working? What are my problems? What mental problems do I have? So I started to learn everything about myself as a person as possible. And this was the thing which helped me to become a better horn player. But the first thing was not, okay, what can I do to play to play the French horn in a better way? The first thing was, okay, who I am and what do I need?
That's Felix Klieser, German horn player. He was born with no arms and has become an international horn soloist. It's quite an impressive journey. Check out these dexterous toes. Yeah. So in this episode, Felix and I talk about, of course, his story of becoming an international horn soloist, all the challenges that he overcame, and in particular, the mindset and self-belief that enabled him to reach the level that he has. It's a really beautiful story. And in fact, he's written a book or books about it and is a motivational speaker. We also dive into some aspects of warming up that I personally found very useful and very different from how most people warm up. So hopefully this episode is going to inspire you, give you some new ways to think about challenges that you may want to overcome in your life, and introduce you to Felix's amazing personality. The episode is brought to you by High Range Magic, my school for French horn players who want to gain relaxed control over the full range of the horn. You can find out more at highrangemagic.com. But for now, enjoy this episode with Felix Klieser. Welcome, Felix Klieser, to the Holistic Horn.
Hello.
Hey, I'm so happy to have you here. I was just researching you before the podcast, and I saw a quote. You said, "I want to show you what is possible when you believe in yourself." And I thought that is such a universal theme. So many musicians and just people struggle with that. So I want to start there. Did you always believe in yourself, or how did you develop this confidence?
Well, this was a very long journey, because I started to play the French horn when I was 4 years old, so I was quite young. But in my family and around, no one was making music, so there was no horn player, there was no musician, there was no one who has anything to do with music. There was even no one who played some Christmas songs for Christmas Eve or something like this. So there was no music, and I suddenly had the idea to play the French horn, and I went to my parents and said, I want to learn the French horn, and my parents looked at me and said, okay, what is a French horn? How does it look like? What do you mean? So they were not quite sure about what I really want to do. And then they went with me to the music school. I grew up in Göttingen, and it's a small city in the middle of Germany. And there was just one music school. And in this music school, there was just one horns teacher. And this was the beginning of everything. So the beginning was very relaxed. So
and
you
were 4 years old?
Yeah. Wow. And as you know, at the horn player, when you're 4 years old, you cannot really play songs or something like this. You're playing some notes, and when you are able to play 2 different notes, then you're really happy because this is something big, and you can practice maybe 5 or 10 minutes per day. This is the maximum we can do. So at the beginning, everything was really, really relaxed. And then I think when I was able to play the first really simple song, it took 1.5 years. So I was very slow in learning everything and developing everything. So it was a very slow development. And so for the very beginning, everything for me was at the beginning just fun. It's not thinking about to do the job or to do the professional or to win competitions or to win auditions or to go to an orchestra. This was never something I was thinking about. It was just something I go one day per week. I go to the music school, having my lesson there, having a little bit of fun, and that's all. And this changed a little bit when I was 9 years old. My horn teacher at the time gave me a recording with the horn concertos by Mozart with Hermann Baumann and Pinch Zuckerman and the St. Paul Chamber Orchestra. And then I remember the day because it was just a CD, and I saw, okay, Mozart, horn concertos, and I was not quite sure what this was about. I was not expecting something because I'd never heard that it's possible to play something together with other people, because most of the time I played everything alone, and I never played with some people together. So I did everything for myself. And then I remember the day when I put the CD in the CD player, and then suddenly I heard there was an orchestra, and the horn player was playing together with an orchestra, and I was so impressed by the sound of the horn, and also by the possibility to play together with an orchestra, that I had the wish from that day on, okay, one time in my life, I want to play together with an orchestra. This was my biggest thing, this was my biggest dream, my biggest wish. One time in my life, I want to do this one time. And then I was thinking, okay, what can you do to play together with an orchestra? And then the answer was quite easy. Okay, you have to play the horn as good as possible. So it's quite simple. When you play good, then the chance to play together as a soloist with an orchestra is bigger than when you're not playing that good. So this was my simple answer of how I can come closer to my dream. Then I start to change my mind completely, because then it was not, from this day on, it was not just having not playing just for having fun or something like this. I had a wish, I had a dream, I had a point where I want to go to. And then I started to okay, from the first question, okay, what should I do to be able to play with an orchestra? Answer is, you have to play as good as possible. Then second question, how can you play as good as possible? And then you're starting more questions, and then you're going more to the details. And this was the beginning for me, where my mindset, it's not possible to say it as a 9-year-old boy, but of course you have something like a mindset even when you're young, changed completely. And then I started to practice more, and then I started to understand more why something working, where are my problems, why do I have their problems, what can I do to solve a problem, and so on. So this was the changing of everything. But there was 9 years old, so was the beginning. When I started to play, I was 4 years, and then the change, I was 9 years old. There were 5 years in between where I just played the French horn, and this was the first big step. And this was the beginning of everything, where I started a journey, and I would not say how to learn the French horn. I would say it was a journey for me to learn who I am, which person I am. What are the things, how is my mind working? How's my body working? What are my problems? What mental problems do I have? So I started to learn everything about myself as a person as possible. And this was the thing which helped me to become a better horn player. But the first thing was not, okay, what can I do to play to play the French horn in a better way? The first thing was, okay, who I am and what do I need?
So what are some examples of some things that you discovered in that inquiry?
When I was 13 years old, I started to leave my music school in Göttingen, and I started to study at the University for Music, Art and Drama in Hanover. This is the capital of Lower Saxony, the north area of Germany. So I was started to study. And then I had the feeling, when I had the first, of course you have to do an audition and everything, and this was quite fine then. But then I started to have my lessons at the university, and of course music school and university is completely different, Yeah. Music school, everything is made for kids, and everything is cozy, and everything is, friendly and so on. But then you're going to university, and the atmosphere is completely different. Completely. And then I was not feeling comfortable anymore. So I went to the lessons, and I was not able to play in the same quality that I played when I practiced. So when I practiced something, everything was working really good, and everything was fine, and I was to do, the things I had to do. And then I went to the lesson, and then I was not able to play anymore. The quality was really bad, and I was nervous, and I felt really uncomfortable, and so on. And then I was thinking about, okay, why do you feeling so uncomfortable when you are playing in the lesson? And why you're not feeling that uncomfortable when you're playing at home? Yeah. Because I understand when you're playing, when you're able to do something at home, this is fine. But in the end, you have to do the things on stage. When you're not able to give a good performance on stage, then it doesn't matter how good you are at home. Right. Yeah. And then I started to understand how does it feel. So I try to analyze how does it feel when I'm nervous in the university, and then I compared it with schools. For example, when I had to had some tests in school, vocabulary tests or something like this. Of course, you are nervous too in this situation, but the feeling of the nervous the feeling was different. So there were two different types of nervosity. Does it exist? A word?
Nervousness would be the
the nervousness. Mm-hmm. So there were two different types, and then I understood. Okay, because people told me, okay, you're nervous because you're playing in front of your teacher, and the teacher is like the audience, and you want to play good in front of your teacher because you want to show him that you are good, and then you're nervous. This was a explanation I got from everyone when I told about this problem. But then I understand, okay, when I'm nervous in school because of a test or exam or something like this, and when I'm nervous in the lessons, the feeling is completely different. Mm-hmm. And then I started to, okay, this is not just because you're playing in front of someone. Okay, this is one part. You're nervous because you're playing in front of someone, but this is not the main problem. There should be something different. And then I tried to analyze everything. So I looked, okay, what materials are in the room? Okay, the windows and the colors and so on. And then I suddenly understood, okay, when I'm not sitting on the carpet, I'm feeling not comfortable anymore. Because in my parents' home where I spent the most time with my instrument, everywhere was a carpet. The whole house was with a carpet, and there was no area without a carpet. So I played 99% of home playing I made on a carpet. But in the room where I had the lessons at the university, there was like I don't know what kind of but there was no carpet anymore, And then I had the feeling, okay, there's no carpet. And when you are in a room where there's no carpet, then you're feeling different. And in a normal situation, you would not recognize that you're feeling different. But when you have to do something like playing horn, then you really recognize, okay, this is a problem for you. And then I was sitting there, okay, it's a problem, but how can I find a solution for the problem? Because in the area where I practice, there's everywhere a carpet. And then I started to practice in the bathroom. I took the chair, my instrument, everything to the bathroom, put everything out, which is something like cozy, so to have a very clean and cold atmosphere. And then I started to play the French horn in this cold and clean atmosphere without any carpets and something like this. And I had the same feeling I had at university, same feeling of feeling uncomfortable, of feeling nervous, of feeling not good. And then I understood, okay, it's because of a carpet, And this was a day where I started to practice just in the bathroom. The atmosphere is horrible. The acoustic is horrible. Everything is horrible there. But after, I think, 3 or 4 weeks, I felt more and more comfortable in this bathroom. And then I changed my practice room. I was going to I don't know what the English word is about. It's an area in a house where you can leave all this stuff. It's not for living. It's just for and this was a very cold and dark and a very with a high humidity room, and the smell was about I don't know chemicals or like because this was a room where you put everything you don't need. And I had the idea, okay, when you're feeling in this area, when you're around to feel comfortable in this horrible area, then you can play everywhere in the world. And this is a project I did, and it took like 1 or 1.5 years, something like this. So it was a long period, but this helped me a lot. And today I can say it doesn't matter where I play. It doesn't matter if the acoustic is amazing, if the acoustic is horrible. I'm feeling comfortable, and I would not have the same feeling if I had not done my little experiment at this age when I was, I think, 14, 15 years, something like this. So, and this is an example of how you learn who you are and how to understand yourself. And this is not because of talent or something like this. I'm not a talented person because it's not my talent to play in every situation as good as possible. This is not my talent. It's because I understand what I need and what I can do to get what I need. And this, for example, was one of the examples I made to understand myself.
That's absolutely brilliant. What would you say are some of your talents or something that you have a lot of innate skill for?
I'm not a really talented horn player at all. So when I was young, when I was 17 or 18 years old, I started to become a member of the National Youth Orchestra of Germany. Of course, this is a big thing, but it just means that you're that you're belonging to the good German horn players. But of course, in the end, when you want to become a soloist or even more, it's not enough. You have to become even more. But I remember when I started, I think the first tour we had was with the Mahler First Symphony. And I prepared myself a lot for the symphony. So I bought a recording from the symphony. I listened to the recording. I was looking into the score. I practiced my part and so on. And then I arrived at the for the first rehearsal. And the system at the National Youth Orchestra is that you are coming together somewhere in Germany. Then you have 1 week of rehearsing, and then we are going on tour in Germany, Europe, or everywhere in the world. So, but I remember when I arrived there for the rehearsal, my roommate for the tour was also a horn player, and then we started to discuss, and I asked him, "Oh, what do you think about the symphony and this and that?" And then I understood, okay, he didn't practice his part, so. And he even didn't practice the horn for the last 2 or 3 days. So I was like, oh, holy shit, what is this? How is it possible? It's not possible to play anything. This will be a disaster. I was quite sure he will be a disaster at the rehearsal. And then we started at the next morning. We had our first rehearsal with a horn section, and he was really good. He was not playing better. I was not playing better than him.
I think we were Stefan Dorr.
Yeah, I think we were on the same level, something like this. And I practiced a lot. I put a lot of energy, time, and everything into this symphony, and he was doing nearly nothing for the symphony, and we were on the same level. And there I understand, okay, I'm not the most talented horn player on this planet. Definitely not, and not of my age. So I have to do, when I want to reach something or when I want to get a level of something, I have to do something different in my life.
It sounds like one of your talents is determination, that problem solving, clear thinking, follow through. You said that this challenge of becoming able to play comfortably in any environment took you 1.5 years. A lot of people would try it for a week and say it didn't work, or try it for a month and say it didn't work, and you really stuck to it. So I imagine that that's one of your talents. I'm wondering, I mean, it's kind of the elephant in the room question, but did you experience any discrimination or teasing growing up around being, not having arms as a horn player?
When I was young, this was not a problem, of course. When I started at music school, this was not a problem because I didn't want to do something. It was just music school. It was just hobby, just for having fun. So this was quite nice. The problem came when I started to study or when I came to university, because then you are in different situations. Then there are people that are saying, okay, maybe he has no chance on the market. So maybe the position in the horn class should be for someone who has more a realistic chance on the market, because he will never be able to do this as a job or something like this. And there are so many good horn players in the world, and gives the position someone who has a realistic chance, because of course, but the places at university, when you have a horn class, it's like between 10, 15 people are in a horn class, and usually you have one class for one university. So there's a very limited space for horn players to study. And of course, when there is someone where people are thinking, okay, he has not a realistic chance, that this was a big thing. So, and I had also the feeling that I have to do maybe a little bit more than others have to do. So it was not something that someone's going to me and said, okay, you have to do double work and have to play double good and so on, and then you can stay here, and if not, you have to leave. No one said this to me, but the atmosphere was something like this. And I had also some situations where, when you're studying music, then the timetables are sometimes really confusing. Then you have to play an orchestra project. But on the other side, at the same time, you have your lesson with your teachers, and everything is at the same time. So sometimes it's not possible to be everywhere at the same time. So you're coming a little bit too late for something. And I had this for a rehearsal with the orchestra, because I had a horn lesson before, and then I had to go directly to the rehearsal. And then the conductors, I arrived maybe 5 minutes later, but everyone did it because sometimes it's not possible anymore. It's not possible. But then I arrived there, and then conductor stopped and asked me, why are you so late? And I had a lesson, but, I asked you before, and you said it's okay. And okay. Well, then he said, well, I want to tell you something. And it was in front of everyone. It was not just directly to me. It was in front of the whole orchestra. It's so important to be not too late for rehearsal, especially for you. This was something, and these are situations you had I had many times in my life. So it's not something directly, but you understand the message is clear what they want to say.
And when that comes into you and you feel that energy, there's a particular energy there. What's your first reaction? And then do you have sort of something underneath that? Like, for example, I might feel hurt or angry if someone said that to me, and then I might kind of go through that to a more generous or resilient response. What happens for you when you hear that?
I was really angry and tired. But yeah, I would say tired, because you invest so much energy and time in your career, and then someone is saying, well, no, you can play as good as you play, but it's not enough. And this makes you angry and tired at the same time. It's a difficult feeling, and you cannot really describe it. This is the one thing. But on the other side, I had, and this is still my big thing, or was my big thing, the situation when I was a 9-year-old boy who said, I want to play as a soloist with an orchestra.
Yeah.
Yes, this is my thing. And this is the thing, or this is the reason why I'm doing everything. And this is my passion, this is my dream. And this was the reason why I did not stop. And there were so many points in my career, so many points, or so many situations in my career where I thought, okay, maybe it doesn't make sense. Maybe it's better to do something different. Music is something nice. It's very beautiful, but the way is so far away, or the point where you want to, the thing you want to get are so far away, and it's so hard, so difficult, and there's so many. On the one side, you have your own problems, and then there are people making you problems, and it's so difficult. So maybe you have to do something different. And I had this situation so many times in my career.
I think that unites a lot of people that have pursued a mastery journey, whether it's on horn or another instrument, or just in another area of life. Like for me, we've talked about this briefly, but I was rejected from 7 music schools. Got computer science scholarship offers from all of them. I did my cognitive science, computer science degrees, and I said, no, I have to do music. I have to do music. And I applied again and got rejected from almost every music school again, was told, you're too old to make a career. There's no way, blah, 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 blah. I got accepted to one school, which was Indiana. And I went there and I was at the bottom of the horn studio, and just there's setback after setback after setback, discouragement after discouragement, some wins, of course, but ultimately it's that passion and determination, a connection to something that almost your soul is just saying, you have to do this. It doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down. What matters is that you get up one more time.
Yeah. And I think the biggest problem is not that you have a way full of problems when you want to do something, and it's not just in the music; it's in every part of life. When you want to reach something, then you are confronted with many difficult situations. It's quite normal. But I think the biggest problem is not that you have these difficult situations or problems. I think the problem is that people are thinking when they see successful people in something, successful sportsmen, successful musicians, and so on, they think that they have always success in every area of life, in every situation, everywhere. And this is not true. The beginning is, in every career, is really hard, is really difficult. But I think there are 2 types of persons. There are some persons, they stop at one point. There's a point in where they think, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to stop here. And they stop. And then there are other persons that they are not stopping. They're going on and going on. And I think this is the most important thing, and this is the most difficult thing, not to stop and to believe also in yourself.
What would you say to somebody who's in that first category, that just right now they're discouraged, they're frustrated, they feel like stopping, maybe they're about to stop, what would you say to them?
Quite easy. So what do you want to do in life? Well, then, okay, let's say the person said, I want to become a horn player. Okay, then you have two possibilities. You stop and then you go on. Correct? Yes, correct. Okay, what is the situation when you stop to play the French horn? The situation is that you will not become a horn player. Is it correct? Yes, it's correct. What is the situation when you are going on with the project to become a horn player? Then you have two possibilities. Maybe you will become a horn player. Maybe you will not become a horn player. But the thing you are afraid of is that you're not becoming a horn player. But when you stop to play the French horn, you are exactly in this situation. It's a mental game or something like this, to make it, to analyze your situation. And when you stop, you are getting in the situation you are afraid of. This is because when you stop to play the French horn, then you will not become a horn player. And this is the thing you are afraid of. So in the end, it does not make sense to stop.
Yeah, I work with people a lot on their high range, and as you know, a lot of horn players will struggle 20, 30, 40, 50 years sometimes to get the high notes. And they're on the path and they're saying, I don't think I'm going to get it. I just want to quit right now. What you're saying is exactly right. Well, yeah, if you quit, you're never going to get it. You got to persevere. Yeah.
So this is so important to understand that when you want to reach something, when you want to get something, you will pass through so many situations where you think, okay, this is not possible. This will not work for me or something like this. But this is very, very normal, even for the very successful people. And I met so many successful people also outside of music in other areas. I had a few weeks ago, I had a podcast with a football player who was in the German national football team. In Germany, it's like you play for the NFL in the States or something like that. It's a very, very highest level. And when you discuss with him how we get in the situations, then you have so many stories about what was not working, what was difficult. I think this is something which belongs to every big career, the problems. And of course, we are living in a world, we're just talking about the positive things. So everyone wants to show the positive side, when you're looking on social media, you're not posting something on social media which is bad and which is not working and where you're not good in or something like this. We're always showing our most positive sides, and this gave the feeling for everyone that the other people are always successful and everything is fine, everything is great, everything is amazing. But this is not the reality. This is just the things we are seeing, but the reality is completely different.
Well, sorry for the interruption, but if you are a horn player and you struggle with high range, confidence, accuracy, consistency, or endurance, this is of interest to you. I am still running my program High Range Magic that has offered profound transformation to folks that want to unlock the high range and all of its benefits. There is a masterclass linked below that you can watch for free, 100% free, 3 Secrets of High Playing. After you watch the masterclass, you'll have an option to book a no-cost one-on-one consult with me if you're interested in finding out more about the program. That's all for now. Back to the episode. I think about that a lot as a content creator because I want to sound good when I post my videos of me playing horn. I want to sound like Scott Legier. He always sounds good in his videos. And but I actually make a point to allow myself to miss notes and sound bad and get frustrated in the content that I post because I think it's more realistic, and I don't see many people actually holding that stance or giving that window into their lives.
Because people always want to have tricks, Tell me how you can do this. Tell me how you can do that. Tell me. And then someone is telling you something, and then maybe you copy the ideas, and then you're successful. But this will never work. This will never. It's like when we're talking about warm-ups, always when I'm doing a masterclass, in nearly every masterclass, there will be a situation where the topic is how to do warm-up, And in my situation, for me, a good warm-up is not something I can tell you. A good warm-up is something you have to learn because there's many, many exercises you can do for warm-up. Many, many exercises. I think there are many books, and there are endless exercises for warm up. But in the end, the only thing you have to understand is that you have to ask the question to yourself: am I feeling comfortable or ready to play after my warm up? If yes, then your warm up is good. If no, then you have to change something. And most people want to have something like a plan. To at the very beginning do exercise number 1, then do exercise number 2, then do exercise number 3, 4, 5, 6, make 5 minutes break, and then you can play pieces, something like this. And this will never work, because I did the same. When I was young, I had also some plans for how to do the warm up, and I was never feeling comfortable. I was never feeling ready. So, and then I had the feeling, okay, I did my warm up, so my lips are ready, okay, but my from the mental side, I'm not ready. I'm not into the music. So then I understand I had to play a piece 1 or 2 times through, and then I'm feeling ready. And then I was thinking about, okay, but when playing through a piece gives you more the feeling of being ready than the exercises, why are you doing the exercises?
Yeah.
Exactly. And today, when I do warm up, I'm not doing exercise sessions.
Yeah.
I have to do a long warm up, so my warm up is like 50, 20 minutes. But in this time, I just try to leave the normal world and to get my mind into the music. When I play a Mozart concerto, then I have to be into the music of Mozart, the articulation, the kind of phrasing, the colors, and so on. So I start to play the piece, but it's not something what I would say this works in general for everyone. Other people are preparing themselves in another way, but this is something which works for me. And this is the thing where I would say, okay, this is to think individual and to understand that every one of us is an individual person, which with individual problems and issues and so on. This is so important to understand, to learn something.
Oh yeah, you said 2 things that I need to double click on. The first was, you said I think you said I need a long warm up, and then you said 15 to 20 minutes. Are you aware that many people's warm up, especially in the US, I don't know outside, but it can be an hour sometimes. People are warming up, playing footballs unmusically, just so that they think that they can move on to practicing music. It seems insane to me.
Well, this is a point, maybe you can know when you don't know what you need. When you never thought about what is my warm-up program. When you always did a program someone gave you, then I would recommend the person to analyze, okay, I'm doing my warm-up. How do I feel? Am I feeling completely ready? Yes or no? When I have the feeling I'm feeling completely ready, fine. When you're doing something like 1 hour warm-up, I would say, 1 hour in the real life, when you're, for example, when you're touring, then it happens quite often that the flight is too late, the train is too late.
Yep.
Something big has happened. I had so many situations in my life where I had no rehearsal with the orchestra because something happened. I traveled somewhere, my instrument was missing or something like this, or the orchestra was not arriving. And then I went on stage seeing the orchestra and the conductor for the very first time. Or when you play, for example, in UK, I had last year, I was playing with Royal Philharmonic London, Mozart Fourth Concerto. And the situation in UK is that they have nearly no time for rehearsing because they have to pay everyone for every minute, And then I played the Fourth Mozart Concerto with them, and we had like 15 minutes of rehearsal or something like this because they had to rehearse something before. There was a big symphony and it took a little bit longer than they expected. And there were just like 10 to 15 minutes for me. And it was, we played the first movement, then I had 1 minute discussion with the conductor. Then we played the second movement. We also had a little discussion there. Not big, just in general about tempo, about phrasing, that he understood what I'm. And then the rehearsal time was over. So we had no chance to rehearse the last movement, the third movement. So we made it the very first time, in the concert on stage. So this was the very first time we played it together. But when you never learned the situation before, when you try to make the situation as comfortable as possible, and then of course, when you have 1 hour to prepare every time for everything, okay. But when you have to do an audition and your train is too late, and you're not finding the entrance door or something like this. And then you have to be on stage for the audition in 5 minutes. Then you have to learn how to prepare in maybe 3 minutes.
Or the acoustic is weird, or they want you to play a different articulation or whatever.
So for me, it's quite important to do the things as simple as possible. And also for me, it's important that I have to be able to play when I'm hungry, when I'm tired, when I have jet lag. There's so many things that can happen to you when you had no chance to sleep, something like this. Even in this horrible situation, I have to be able to play a concert, And this is the reason why I try to make the situation or the practice area not as comfortable as possible. It's more that I even if I had nothing to eat, quite often I had the feeling, okay, maybe first I should eat something and then I go for practicing. And then there are some days where I said, no, today you're not eating, you go for practicing, because here you can practice how you feel when you didn't eat something before, when you're feeling hungry. How is the situation? What is different? What are the things you have to take care of? Or is there something different? Or is it just a mental thing that you are getting afraid because you think, oh, I'm hungry, I haven't eaten something, so I cannot play anymore. Is it true? Is it not true? So this is something really helpful to practice in situations where you're not feeling perfect comfortable.
I'm going to bring that into my life. I notice, I have a lot of administrative tasks. Sometimes I'm like, I need a coffee before I do this administrative task on my computer or something. I'm gonna implement that. The other thing that you said was that your idea of warming up musically, getting into the world of the Mozart, if that's what you're about to play, might not work for everybody. I totally agree. There's no one size fits all solution. But I do think that warming up musically actually has a higher likelihood of working for most, if not all, horn players than warming up unmusically. Could you share your thoughts on that?
Usually when we are practicing, we are doing our warm-up, and then we start to practice. Maybe we're doing some exercises, or we're playing some etudes, or we're playing some repertoire. It's very different. But I would recommend to everyone, make something like a concert simulation at home. So say, okay, today at 3 p.m. I have to play Mozart Horn Concerto number 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 through 4 for the audience. Try to prepare yourself, do what you need, but at 3 p.m. you have to be able to play concerto 1 through, not piece by piece, not movement by movement, the complete concerto 1 through. Is also another thing. Teachers are always saying, not playing too much through, but in the end on stage, it's your job. You're not playing bar by bar, you're not playing movement by movement, you play everything through. So this is the thing you have to do. And then when you are doing these simulations, then you understand yourself more. So what is working well, what is working not well. For example, there are some places when you play in the third movement, there's a scale. You can play the scale really good, but when you played 10 minutes before or 2 movements before, your lips are a little bit more tired, or the consistence of your lips is a little bit different, and suddenly the scale is not working anymore. So this is something I would recommend to everyone, to do something like concert simulations. And in these simulations, you can also practice how to warm up, how to feel prepared. You can work on your warm up. How do you feel? Is your body feeling okay? But you're from the mental side, you're not in the music, or are you from your mental side completely in the music? But the first movement, the lips are too tired, and then the second movement they're getting better, or the other way around. What is happening? And this is something I would recommend, because then you understand yourself much better, and then you understand what you really have to practice. Because sometimes you're practicing something, and then you play concert, and then you understand, oh, okay, this was not a big problem. This is a big problem. But for this is a simulation, quite well.
Felix, you just blew my mind. I had sort of like an explosion of ideas around organizing my practice, less around fundamentals and more around the music that I engage with and love. So for example, I don't play a ton of Mozart these days. I play a lot of funk. I improvise with DJs, I have some classical stuff that I play, but it'd be so interesting to do a Mozart warm-up, for example, where I'm getting into that world, into the shape and articulation of those notes, the way that the scales just float and tickle, laugh, and to spend. And what happens when you actually play music like that, at least for me, I'm playing and I'm going, and I'm noticing that all of a sudden that the pitch is a little off. And then and I want to repeat it, and I want to start drilling that note to get the pitch steady and the beginning of the note steady. And all of a sudden I'm doing drills, but those drills are motivated from the music not being up to the standard of my aesthetic.
I think, this is one of the most, for me, one of the most difficult things, that every composer or every kind of music is different, and you need different qualities. When you play Mozart concerto, it's something completely different. When you play, for example, Glier concerto, you need completely other colors. The articulation is different. The range of not just dynamics in general, because everywhere is piano, mezzo, forte, forte, but a forte in Strauss concerto, Glier concerto is something completely different than in the Strauss concerto, in the Mozart concerto, or forte in Mozart is something completely different when you play, for example, Förster concerto, some Baroque music.
I'm so curious as you're talking about this, about the bell and how, hand covering and things like that. I've never seen behind your bell what you're doing, if anything. And I think there's this common conception that we need the hand in order to sound like a horn, in order to play in tune. Could you speak to that?
I don't have something in the bell, so the bell is completely open. But I think, this is the same situation, because I never played with something in the bell. So I never had the help of the right hand.
Do you play on a regular horn? There's no modifications.
Alexander 103, yes. Right.
Everybody says you need to have the horn right in the perfect spot in order for the notes to slot. The high notes need to slot to get your hand in the perfect spot.
Yeah, it's funny because there's so many people that are telling me without the hand of the bell, you cannot play high notes.
Right.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
Sure. You keep saying that, I'm going to play some high notes over here.
So, of course, you have to practice, but this is what I said, when you have a problem somewhere, or when there is a problem, it does not mean that there's no solution. For every problem, you have a solution. And the trick is to find a solution for everything, and not saying, okay, this is a problem, this is not working, so I cannot do this. This is quite simple. Many, many people are doing this. So,
have you ever had somebody actually put a hand in your bell just to see what it feels like?
Yeah, just something for fun. So just, the thing is, the problem with the hand is, well, what I can quite often see is, when I want to change something, for example, the pitch, when something is a little bit too sharp.
Yeah.
And I want to change the intonation. When you use the hand for intonation, then you're not changing just the pitch. You're changing the color, you're changing the articulation, you're changing the dynamics, you're changing so many small things. It's not a lot, but when you close the bell a little bit more, the color is different. When you open the instrument more, the color is different. When the hand is more closed, the articulation is different. When you play open, also there the articulation is different. So the trick is also, when you have a specific problem with articulation, with color, with intonation, then you want to, in the perfect situation, or in the perfect world, you just want to change the one specific thing you want to change, not everything, And I see this quite often, that people are, you can see, and you can also hear when they're using the right hand, they have the feeling, oh, I'm a little bit too sharp, and then they're changing really quick the hand position. Then you can hear that everything changed a little bit. The color, the character of the sound, everything changed a little bit.
Do you tend to use your lips to manipulate the pitches?
Yeah, lips or airstream, for example.
Got it.
But for me, it's more about the color. So when I listen to myself, I'm not listening too much in pitches or something like this. I'm thinking more, okay, this should be more dark in the color. This should be more like a silver sound or something like this. When you play with in the bigger group, then there's not a perfect pitch or something like this. Or sometimes you have the perfect pitch, but there's no connection. Sometimes you have it when you play with the piano together, and this is a piano with a strange color or with a strange sound character, then the question is not just about that your intonation is perfect. It's more the question that the color of both instrument should be more together, because when you have different characters of the color of the sound, then you can play with perfect intonation, but it doesn't listen or doesn't sound that you're really in tune. It sounds really strange. And this is the same with the orchestra. When you play, for example, with strings together and the pitch is perfect, but the color is not really perfect, then it's like really, you have a separated situation. You can hear the horn on one side and the strings on the other side. And then the intonation is great, but there's something you cannot really understand why, but where's the feeling, okay, it's not, it's not getting together. And so this is the reason why I think more in the colors than in playing a little bit more high, playing a little bit more low, open your mouth a little bit more, close your mouth a little bit more, speed up a little bit your airstream or so on. This is not it's more a mental thing.
What have been some of your favorite collaborations?
You mean in the music?
Yeah, well, you're talking about all this color and strings or piano, and I'm just thinking, wow, you've done so much, I'm sure. And sometimes you're met with musicians that are thinking the same way, and wow, magic happens. Other times it's just cool, we're getting the job done sometimes.
The good thing about what I'm doing is I'm playing together with so many different people.
Yeah.
And, always when I play, for example, a concert with orchestra, usually I have a different orchestra. And when you travel through the world, then, every country has a specific philosophy of how an orchestra should sound, every conductor is different. There are some orchestras when you have, for example, a Mozart concerto, Mozart number 4, the first movement, there are different tempi you can use for the first movement. But there are some orchestras, they can play really inspiring with a lot of energy, with a lot of, power. You have the feeling that there's a lot of energy in the orchestra. And then it's good to have a little bit of faster tempo, for example. And then you have another orchestra, they have a completely different sound, articulation. They are different from the type of how they make music. There you have to look more for a slower tempo, where the character is more charming, more inspiring, more quiet, more relaxed. It's the same piece, but the character is very different. And when I started to do the job, I came to the orchestra and I had my vision, what I wanted to have with a concerto, and I tried to push my idea through the idea of the orchestra. But then I understood, okay, this is not working. You cannot do what you do everywhere the same. You have to play more or you have to think more like a chamber music player. You have to adapt more to the orchestra. You have to listen to the orchestra. What is the character of the orchestra? It's difficult to understand what is the soul of the orchestra, or how is the soul of the orchestra? And then you have to adapt your own playing to the orchestra, not the way around, And then I learned that there are so many different possibilities to play the same piece. I tried to adapt my playing that it works really well together with the idea or with the character of the orchestra, and then you get the best results in the end, And but this is a process. This is a very long learning process, and of course you're meeting different personalities with different ideas, and you try different things. And for example, a Strauss concerto third movement, it's for every orchestra. Even if you have the best orchestra in the world, it's not so easy. It's always too late. So what can you do? How can you support the orchestra? What can you say? Or what picture? Sometimes you have a picture and you're talking to the orchestra with a picture, and then there's a completely change. Then they understand. For example, in the last movement of the first Strauss concerto, there's a flute button, and it's always too late. I think it's more the problem of the distance, because the winds are sitting not far away from my side, and the trick is that they play always a little bit too early, and when they have the feeling they are a little bit too early, then everything is still good together.
Your 9-year-old would be so delighted to see this masterful orchestra soloist talking about the nuances of international collaboration. Have you ever thought about that? Like, wow, you really did the thing that he wanted.
But this is, in the end, this is the thing which fascinates me about music, because in the end, you learn about how people are. You learn about different personalities, about different cultures. You learn about people in general, how they sing, what their ideas are, what their dreams are, and so on. Because, and this is the most beautiful thing for me, because in the end you have to say, okay, why should I play one and the same piece always once again and again? Why should I play 500 times Mozart concertos in my life? Because the music is the same, everything is the same, it's copy paste, and when you think like this, and then it's a very boring job, But when you open yourself for, okay, I'm going to a rehearsal, I'm going to someone, and I'm open for you, and give me your ideas, give me your way of thinking, and I want to learn from you, even if I did this 100 times before. I want to learn from you, and I can learn from everyone. When you are going through the world with this way of thinking, then you can even more learn than you learn from a single person, or from some some heroes or something like this. This is more important. So in the end, it's important that when you have the chance to be in contact with as many people as possible.
So you've climbed. I mean, from my perspective, you were 9, you said, oh, I can't want that. You climbed the mountain. There's always more to climb, but you also just wrote a book on mindfulness, and you have what are kind of your dreams and goals now? What are the mountains that you're climbing or just starting to climb?
When I look on my life, I'm not that old. I'm 34 years old now, so I'm not in the end of my life. But when I'm looking back, how I became who I am, and analyze what makes me, or what creates me to the person I'm right now. Because I'm right now, I have the feeling that I have a very privileged life, that I can do what I'm fascinated about, that I have the possibility to learn from so many different people, to travel around the world, to get to know so many countries, cultures, and so on. So I have the feeling that I have a very privileged life, and I'm really thankful to have the chance to live the life I live. And when I'm thinking back in my life, how I became to this person and how I got these possibilities, then I have to say that talent, or the things we are, they are into us, or they are given by God, or however you want to explain it, they are not that important, because when people see me, you have no arms, okay, you have no possibility in life, you have a boring life, or you have a horrible life, or something like this. And my life is the completely opposite of being boring or hard or difficult or something. It's completely different. So the thing is, or the message is I learned, is that we, as a person, have the biggest influence of our life. The way how we think, the things, what is our passion about, the way how we learn to trust in ourselves. This means also to be friendly to yourself. I think I met so many people, they're saying to themselves, oh, I want to make music, or I wanted to make music when I was younger, but I'm completely unmusical person. So, and there is no unmusical person. I think there's a very, very small amount of numbers of people there not musically, but in the end, everyone has a connection to music in some way. It's just the thing that you have to trust in yourself. But when you are talking about yourself in a very bad way, in a very horrible way, I'm bad in this, I'm horrible in this, I'm not good at this, and I cannot do that. When you're always talking bad to yourself, then you have no chance.
Mindset is huge. And that's what your book is about, right? Can you share a little bit about your book?
Because this was everything I had in my life. The only thing I made in my life is I made decisions. I'm not the most talented horn player. I'm not coming from a family background where was music everywhere. I had not someone who told me, okay, when you want to make a career in music, these are the steps, play this competition, get lessons from this teacher, and so on, and he and she can help you. I never had this. I just had myself and the decisions I made, and the decisions I made brought me to the point where I'm right now. And this is something in the end everyone can do. And everyone can do beside your talents or beside your things you're thinking you're good in or something like this.
It's not just something we can do, it's something that we are doing every day, like it or not, making decisions.
The problem is to understand, because I spent the last few years, I spent a lot of time about thinking about these mindset things and learning about these things, and also to understand, as you asked me, why have you done this? Why have you, when you were 9, why did you make the decision to become a home player? Why did you make the decision not to accept when you were at the university that you are just nervous and playing in front of other people makes you nervous, so you're feeling uncomfortable. So this is a problem. Why did you make the decision to analyze the situation more and so on? These are questions I asked myself a lot the last years to understand myself more. And this is something I would, share with other people. And I think, not everyone wants to become a musician, but everyone has a passion in his life for something. Is it sport? Is it music? Is it something completely different? And in the end, it's not important that you are doing what you're doing on the absolutely highest level. This is not necessary. You can also do something on a lower level, but it is something which can make you so happy and gives you so much for your life. Even if you're not being a professional musician, it does not mean that the quality of your music making is not that good as the music is when you're doing it as a professional. That's in the end no different. When music makes you happy, when music gives you energy, when music gives you something which makes you smile, then it's helpful at all. And this is so important, and these are the things I want to share with people, and I want to motivate people to be friendly to themselves, to motivate them, to believe in them, and also to show them, okay, having problem is not something which is just something you have. Everyone in the world has a problem and has a difficult situations, and so where we think, okay, am I good enough? Is it possible for me? Or is it time I'm investing in something? Is it better I should invest in something different, And these are the situations they're coming quite often. And this is for me the most important thing, to show the people these difficult situations are so normal, and it's not something we should be afraid of.
It sounds like the main message, if we were to put it on a billboard that horn players can see, it would almost something like keep going, Yeah.
The problem is that people are thinking when something sounds simple, then it's not something big, When something sounds really complicated, then it seems really important, because it's complicated. And the problem about this is that we are not taking care about the not simple things, but simple sounding things that much, And this is also something I want to show people, that not everything should be really complicated or should be something really intellectual or something like this. Sometimes a simple thought or a simple idea can make so much difference. Because this is the experience I made in my life.
That's beautiful. Where can people find you online if they want to listen to you, contact you? Are you available for lessons?
Of course, on social media, on Instagram, and if you want to listen to some music on Spotify, and Deezer, and Apple Music, iTunes, all the streaming platforms, you can find it, and you can listen on YouTube, of course.
Do you offer online lessons to people?
No, because I was teaching at university, and the last, I think, 5-6 years, I had also my own horn class. But I stopped 1.5 years ago because it was a little bit too much, having a solo career and being really focused on a solo career, and on the other side, being really focused on teaching. In the end, when you want to do both, it's not really possible. You can just concentrate on one thing completely. You can do some teaching things besides the solo career, but then in the end, the teaching part of your life is not 100%. It's like 60%, 70%, and then I made the decision. Okay, I want to concentrate more on the concerts. But what I'm doing quite a lot is master classes. So when I'm playing somewhere, Then I'm doing master classes there. So this is something I'm doing quite often. But teaching or having students or something like this is something I'm not doing right now.
And here we go back to simplicity.
Yes.
That's beautiful. It's been such an honor and joy and inspiration to have you on the podcast. Thank you for coming on, Felix.
Thank you very much.
Hope you enjoyed the podcast. This episode is brought to you by High Range Magic, my online program that helps horn players liberate their high range, as well as reach new levels of relaxation and ease throughout the full range of the horn, and also to kind of reclaim a beautiful new paradigm of relationship and mindset with the instrument. If that sounds interesting to you, head over to highrangemagic.com and you can register to watch the free masterclass I have, How to Confidently Enjoy a 4+ Octave Range Without Pain, Overthinking, or Constantly Practicing. That's over at highrangemagic.com. Thanks again.